You're about to enter the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
A gem of a game in the Gem State as the Runnin' Rebels and Boise State go to the wire. Next in the Reb Zone, we take a frame-by-frame look at the heroic shot that was waved off and the stunned reaction for UNLV. Head coach Dave Rice is here with his thoughts and what he was told by officials. Plus, analyzing what went wrong Wednesday night against New Mexico. What did UNLV learn that could help if the Rebels and Lobos meet once again in the conference tournament? We're riding the wave of emotions inside the Reb Zone right now.
You are now entering the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
Good evening and welcome inside the Reb Zone as we recap a wild week in Runnin' Rebels hoops. Kevin Bollinger alongside UNLV head basketball coach Dave Rice. So many elements that we need to go through with the ending of last night's game at Boise State. But first, let's show everyone what happened in a game that came down to hundredths of a second. An amped-up Taco Bell Arena greeted the Runnin' Rebels as they squared off with Boise State. It was a wild roller coaster from the very beginning. Kem Birch beats Kevin Olakibe for the bucket and the early lead. Then Olakibe and Bryce DeJean-Jones both hit three-pointers, and Chris Wood gets a slam off a missed shot. But Boise State shot 54% from the floor in the first half. Anthony Dremick was hot early as the Rebels had to fight to get out front. They did so with just under 5 minutes left in the half as Birch gets the hoop and the harm. A block shot late secured a 1-point UNLV lead at the half, 39-38.
Lock up. Let's go. Family on three. 1, 2, 3, man.
UNLV did make some great defensive adjustments in the locker room and shut the Broncos down while the UNLV offense motored up. Roscoe Smith drives the lane for the bucket and the foul. Then Birch throws it down with two hands, and the lead was built to 4. Nobody came out on Wood, so he just buries a triple. That made it 57-51. The Rebs were also running on the break. Birch getting the flush. And then Olakibe knocking down a 3 plus the foul. The 4-point play made it 71-64 with just over 6 minutes to go. But the missed free throws reared its ugly head once again, and Dremick started shooting threes. This one, with 44 seconds left, cut the UNLV lead to 2. Then Boise steals the inbounds pass and gets a foul call. The 2 free throws made it 78-78. DeVille Smith gets a great look at the buzzer, but the shot just won't go, and we're headed to overtime. Off the opening tip, BDJ goes straight to the hole for the lay-in. Derek Marks took over for Boise State. This 3 gave the Broncos the lead. That was followed by a lay-in and a long jumper as the lead was opened up to 5. BDJ would knock down the triple, then Birch getting a block to start transition. DeVille Smith goes coast to coast to tie it back up at 85. 2 free throws from Marks made it 89-87 when Birch draws a foul but misses the front end. After making the second to cut Boise's lead to 1, BDJ steals the inbounds pass. Roscoe Smith gets an offensive rebound and the putback to give UNLV a 1-point lead. But with just over 3 seconds left, it's Marks again, giving Boise the lead back by 1. DeVille takes the inbounds pass, rushes up the court, and at the buzzer, the shot is good. He's dogpiled, and it looks like a dramatic win. But the refs check the replay. First, the red light never went off on the backboard, so they had to go to the clock. And after what seemed like an eternity, the verdict: no basket. Rebels lose. A freeze frame shows that the ball was just on DeVille's fingertips when it hit zeros. A very wacky ending, a stunning loss, and a dejected UNLV team tried to explain their emotions at the end.
Listen, I feel like I got it off in time, but I guess gonna look up, I didn't.
The last minute shot, we all thought it was good. We all thought that DeVille got it off at 0.2 seconds.
I can't even explain the feeling, really. I just gotta keep the team together and go to press it and keep everyone together and get ready for our next game.
It was very disappointing. You know, we all came to the locker room thinking it went in. I mean, they showed us in the film and stuff and how it didn't. Ball was still in his hands, I guess. But it was very disappointing. I mean, the guys in the locker room just disappointed. But I think we'll get over it and move on to the next game.
Let's start at the end and work our way back. The final shot, no timeout. You want to get the ball in the player who's the fastest on the team to get it up court, right?
And we work on that. We work on that with our point guards. And so often you watch games and someone will shoot a half-court shot or a deep shot, and a guy like DeVille Smith or Daquan Cook or Kendall Smith on our team can get a long way in 3.3 or 3.4, whatever the time may be, get a long way in that time. We work on that all the time. And so DeVille knew he had 3 or 4 dribbles up the floor as fast as he is.
To the naked eye and without the red light going off on the backboard, we all thought it was good. How agonizing was that few-minute period where the refs kept looking and then huddling and going back and forth?
Well, I knew it was close just from how long that it was taking, and so much of what goes on in the game today, in our college game today, the last few minutes is reviews and who knocked the ball out of bounds and 3-point shot attempts and so forth and so on. But very agonizing because it wasn't about a tie. One team was going to win and one team was going to lose.
Well, the refs pull you and Boise State head coach Leon Rice together. What did they say to you? Because it looked like it took a while before they got to the point. How did they explain it?
Just that they had to go to the monitor, which of course we knew that they were doing, and they felt like it was still in DeVille's hands when the clock above the backboard hit zeros, and that was the explanation they gave.
There's been a lot of chatter on social media with the fans talking about Leon Rice's reaction like he had just won Wimbledon or something like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Leon Rice is a very good coach, a very good guy, and I think he just got caught up in the moment. And I understand that his team won a huge game. It was a great college basketball game. It's too bad that either team had to lose because both teams played so well. It's particularly bad because I just feel so bad for our players. I mean, we bounced back from a tough performance against New Mexico where we couldn't make a shot, and I just feel terrible for our guys. But the only task at hand is to get ready for Colorado State on Wednesday. 24
hours later here after this, do you feel that there was enough conclusive evidence that that shot was after it hit zeros?
It's a great question. We had a tremendous officiating crew. Randy McCall is one of the best in the business, and I know that he did what he felt was right and with the evidence that he had. We all wish that the red light had come on. I'm sure that that'll be the last time that Boise State doesn't check to make sure the red light's functioning properly. But that was another factor in the game as well.
Well, let's go now to the biggest contention with the officiating, and that is right after Marks hit the shot with just over 3 seconds left. And it appears through the replays that at least 2/10 or a tenth went off the clock before it was stopped after the basket was made. What are your thoughts on that after seeing that?
There's no doubt in my mind that, first of all, Derek Marks is a terrific player, made a great offensive play, but there's no doubt in my mind that there was more than 3.3 seconds remaining in the game. And in a game that was decided basically by a fingertip, a tenth of a second was all we needed.
Officials do have the option of stopping play there, checking the clock and making sure the time was right, and we do see that quite often in college basketball. They decided not to do that. Are you surprised, and especially afterwards when the officials said that there was no doubt that nothing ran off, but they never even checked the clock?
Yeah, we did not have a timeout. In that case, we would not take a timeout just because we wanted DeVille to be able to get the ball up the floor and create something, which he was able to do. But you know, again, that's a tough question, and respect the judgment of the officials in that case. But again, there's a big difference in 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, especially in that sort of a situation. Just again, great college basketball game. Was very proud of our effort. Just came up, at least on the scoreboard, just a little bit short.
And after the game, you did ask for an explanation from the officiating crew and/or the conference, and never got one.
Not last night. I just asked to speak with one of the officials, and they just said that was not proper protocol, and so I respect that, and again, have a lot of respect for our commissioner and the supervisor of officials, and so I know there's been an explanation today, and so that's the one thing that I really want to know more than anything is just, about the red light. I was told by a local media member that it didn't work at halftime as well, because if you remember, Boise State had the last shot of the first half, and apparently the red light didn't go off on that end at that time. I didn't recognize that, did not know that. And then the other issue is the time that was remaining on the clock after Marks hit the what turned out to be the game-winning basket.
So at this point, you do talk to the conference. Is the conference come out and said anything today, or will it be during business hours next week that you will hear back about those 0.2 of a
well,
second?
I've talked to both Dan Butterly in the conference, and also talked to Bobby Deibler, who's the supervisor of officials and who does a terrific job. And Bobby was traveling today and said that he was going to definitely look at it on his computer when he got home tonight or tomorrow, and he could freeze it frame by frame and see exactly how much time was left after the Marks basket. Now, it's probably not going to change anything, but it's one of those things I think everyone can learn from. We can learn from, Boise State can learn from it, and I think the conference can learn from it. And technology is a great thing, but tough loss for our group, but I was proud of the way we bounced back. We played well. Again, we just came up just barely short on the scoreboard.
Bottom line, though, you're not in that situation if you make free throws in the second half.
Oh, without question. I mean, there's always more plays to be made. Free throws down the stretch, but again, a great college basketball game. We created a turnover to get the 1-point lead on our press, and so a lot of lead changes, a lot of back and forth, and a great opportunity for us moving forward. I think we'll learn a lot from this. I think that our team certainly got better from the New Mexico game to the Boise State game, and we're certainly a much better team than we were 2 weeks ago. And it's very proud of the way we've played away from our building. I think we've been, other than the Colorado State game, a tremendous team on the road this season, and so I think that bodes well for us with 2 remaining conference road games. But again, those will be challenges as well.
Well, this one's going to be talked about for a while, but we are going to move on and take a look at last week's other game. Straight ahead, we have a recap of Wednesday night's loss to New Mexico. We're going to talk about what takeaways the Rebels have on a Lobo team that's making a late charge for the conference regular season title.
This Raising the Bar moment is brought to you by Born and Raised, the official home of Rebels on the Road.
The Runnin' Rebels down 1 in overtime at Boise State with under a minute to go. Bryce Jones steals the inbounds pass and goes to the basket. Roscoe Smith is there for the offensive rebound and putback to give UNLV the lead. The big-time play didn't result in a win, but it does give us this week's Raising the Bar moment.
Wednesday night, the Runnin' Rebels had a struggle against New Mexico in a game where shots just weren't falling and things just weren't clicking.
Two programs that have developed quite a rivalry squared off once again at the Thomas & Mack. New Mexico was out for payback after the Runnin' Rebels ran them out of the pit earlier this season. Kendall Williams delivered the first of many blows for the Lobos with this 3, followed by another from downtown to make it 9-4 early. Chris Wood came off the bench and delivered a spark. Watch this drive and the flush to bring the fans to their feet. Then Wood going baseline for a running one-hander to cut it to 9-8. Alex Kirk was dominant inside early. The drive for the hoop and the harm, and a hook shot in the lane for 4 points before 2 quick fouls put him on the bench. The refs constantly blew their whistles, preventing any type of flow in the game, and the Rebels did get to the line but struggled, shooting 8 of 18 from the charity stripe in the first half. Williams continued the assault, the wide open lane to the rim for the bucket. That would force a UNLV timeout. Bryce Jones tried to pick up the pace in transition, straight to the hole for the slam. Then BDJ's runner in the lane kept the Lobo lead at 6, but then Cameron Bairstow went to work. The stuff with 4 minutes left in the half, and an inside bucket with under a minute to go stretched the lead to 9 as UNLV was down 38-29 at the half. At the beginning of the second half, New Mexico opened a lead to 17 as DeVille Smith turns it over, leading to Williams on the other end with the basket and the foul. The Rebs did try to make a run, Kim Birch getting the slam on one end, while Lobo head coach Craig Neal gets a technical on the other. The 4-point possession cut the lead to 13, but the Lobos had an answer to every run. Bairstow with the bucket inside, and then in a scramble for the ball, the Lobos come up with it and get it to Williams for the throwdown. He had 29, Bairstow had 18, and the Rebels shot only 31% from the floor, 3 of 21 for 14% from 3, and 57% from the line, as they get handed a 68-56 loss.
We talked coming into this game about picking your poison with New Mexico because you have Kendall Williams and Cameron Bairstow, and they were both deadly on Wednesday.
They were, and when we won the game at the pit, Bairstow had a huge game, and we were able to somewhat limit Kendall Williams, and they were both terrific. There's a reason why Kendall Williams is the reigning player of the year, and Cameron Bairstow most likely will be the player of the year this year in the conference. They are two terrific seniors, and they're a big part of the reason why New Mexico is such a good team. 3
of 21 from three-point range, and I know you don't like to be on your players about shot selection, but in terms of in-game knowledge, when you had it late in the game, about 6 minutes left, Bairstow and Kirk both with 4 fouls, and UNLV comes down and bombs a few threes rather than going inside. Is that a concern with this team as we move forward the rest of this year and next year?
I think it's important that we continue to work on managing shot selection. We continue to try to play inside out, whether it's through dribble penetration, whether it's through throwing the ball inside and kicking it back out. Just it's hard to win a game when you shoot 31% from the floor. It has an effect on getting your defense set and so forth. And to give credit to Mexico, they played very, very well, just like we played down at the pit. And there's a reason why they're a good team. But we have a lot of confidence moving forward. We learned from it. We bounced back, played much better against Boise State, came a little bit short. But I think that experience will help us moving forward.
Well, let's look forward to next week. We are down to the final 2 weeks of the regular season in the Mountain West. And straight ahead in the Reb Zone, we have a look at the Runnin' Rebels week ahead as we talk about 2 games against teams that upset UNLV earlier this season. That's in 2 minutes as the Reb Zone rolls on.
You're watching the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
It's revenge week for the Runnin' Rebels as they face 2 teams that knocked them off earlier in the season. Air Force stunning UNLV at the Thomas and Mack at the beginning of the conference schedule. Colorado State took it to the Rebels in Fort Collins just a couple of weeks ago. Now, a chance at redemption.
Some major tweaks are in order for Wednesday night's home game against Colorado State. On February 5th in Fort Collins, UNLV had one of its poorest performances of the season in a surprising and frustrating blowout loss. The key this time around will have to start on the defensive end, where the Rebels seem lost on most Ram possessions. If UNLV decides to use more pressure, the new rules on hand checks could come into play. And even if that might benefit Colorado State, head coach Larry Eustace is not a fan. He wants the players to be able to play and not get in foul trouble.
It sounds corny, but if you're in Vegas and you pay to see Celine Dion, she's not going to foul out during intermission. You know, you pay good money to see Birch play. Why would you foul him out? The NBA does a great job of protecting the guys you come to see play. And I think it should go the other way. Allow us to play a little more physical. Be aware of who has the fouls.
Saturday, the Rebels travel to the Air Force Academy. A tough trip because of the altitude and the fact that a cutting Falcon offense always poses problems for opponents. Air Force beat UNLV in the second game of the conference schedule, and the Rebels can expect more of the same type of offensive tactics by the Falcons.
In the half court, we have to really rely on some back cuts to loosen that defense up for us to be successful.
2 games that provide a chance at payback, but more importantly, strengthen seeding for the conference tournament and get some momentum heading into the final week of the regular season.
Let's begin with Colorado State. What's the one key thing you have to do that you didn't do in Fort Collins to get the win on Wednesday?
Much, much better job of contesting shooters and a much, much better job of defensive rebounding the ball. That was a very disappointing performance for us.
As for Air Force, going up to Colorado Springs is always tough because of the elevation, but then you're talking about an offense that a lot of teams struggle with defensively. Is that more of a mental issue when you're playing an Air Force type team for players on the floor as much as it is physical?
Without question, and Air Force has been difficult for UNLV. Before I got here, since I've gotten here, those games have been competitive and close, and it was another game that was very, very disappointing performance for us. So 2 opportunities this week to continue to get better against 2 teams that beat us the first time around. We need to find a way to play much, much better if we're going to be successful.
One more break before we wrap it up. As we go to break, though, here's a look at how other teams in the Mountain West Conference did over the weekend.
You're watching the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
After a loss like Saturday against Boise, it's important to put it behind you and move ahead. Worry is about a hangover with this team with this game.
I think the positive is that we played well. We came up short, and it's always disappointing when you lose. It's never acceptable, but we played well. So I think it's a different situation than when you don't play well. But this team has been resilient. We certainly had our share of games where we didn't play well, but we've always bounced back. And I'm excited about this week, excited to get back to practice tomorrow and get after it.
All right, Wednesday night, 8 o'clock tip at Thomas & Mack for Colorado State. We thank you for joining us inside the Reb Zone and leave you with the Runnin' Rebels Plays of the Week. Good night.